So we set up the IDE, which is important. Now let's also set up a starting project, which we'll use throughout this course in the different course modules. So basically a project setup with which we can start every course module to then write our code there. Now, as you will see throughout this course, writing code doesn't require a complex setup in general, but here I want a project where we can write code, compile it, and then immediately see the output of that code in the browser. And for that, I'll first of all add a new index.html file, and you can add this in any empty folder. The two other files or folders you see here are just config files for Git in case you're using version control, and for my editor, which sets the zoom level. So that's all I have here. But in that index.html file, I will now initialize it with a base skeleton. And for that in Visual Studio Code, you can just type HTML, choose that HTML5 option. If you're not getting this menu, just press Control and space, choose the HTML5 option and hit enter, and you'll get this skeleton. There we could enter understanding TypeScript here as a title, but that does not matter too much. More important is that here you add a script tag in your head section and add a source and point at app.js here and add the defer attribute. This tries to import an app.js file, which of course right now doesn't exist, and it will then of course also execute it if it finds it. This allows us to view our changes, our code changes, directly on the screen in the browser, or if we're just logging something to the console, in the browser DevTools. Next, I will add an app.ts file. That's the file, a TypeScript file, where we will write some code. And there, for example, you could console log your code goes here, or whatever you want. You can console log whatever you want here. And if you do that, you can compile this file with TypeScript, which we installed earlier. For that, you can open the terminal integrated into the editor here and simply write tsc app.ts. This compiles this TypeScript file and generates an app.js file now, which is the file we're importing here. And if you now open this index.html file, you see whatever happens in here. You kick off the logic you wrote in here. And either that's logic that manipulates something on the DOM, or like in this case, it's logic which simply gets logged to the console. So here in this case, I opened this HTML file in the browser. You can simply double click on it outside of the IDE, so in the normal Windows Explorer or the Mac Finder. And then maybe open your developer tools if you're just logging something to the console, and you'll see your log here. Now that's nice, but whenever we change something here in our code, we have to manually recompile. Well, that is what it is for now. It will change later in the course, but we also have to manually reload this page here. And to speed this up and make sure that you don't have to do this whenever you change something, we'll actually also add another tool here to this dummy setup, which we'll use throughout this course, so that this happens automatically. Now to install such a tool, let's run npm init here in this project folder. The npm command is available if you installed Node.js. Make sure that for that you visit nodejs.org and download and install the latest version you find here. For the moment, we're not going to write any Node.js code, but Node.js comes together with the npm tool, which we can use to install third-party dependencies or useful tools that speed up our development, and for that reason, we need it here. So with that installed, you can run npm init in this project folder. Simply hit enter, and you can answer all these questions here with the defaults by simply hitting enter all the time. And once this completes, it gives you a package.json file, which looks something like this. And now you can run npm install to install a dependency which is exclusive to this project. So to install a tool, you could say, which you can use in this project. --save-dev to mark it as a development only dependency, so a tool that helps us during development and does not contain any code which will execute as part of our main code. And the tool name is light-server. If you hit enter here, this installs this extra tool. And once this finishes, just go into your package.json file and in the scripts part, add a comma and add a new script which you name start. And then, as a value between double quotes, enter light-server. So that name of the package which was added here. If you now hit enter, You can run npm start here to start this start script, and light server is a simple development server which always serves the index.html file next to the package.json file, so this file, and it serves your application on this URL you see here, localhost 3000 by default. And you can then just visit this location, simply enter localhost 3000 in the browser, and now your code runs here. And why is this better? Well, this will now automatically reload the page whenever another file in this directory changes. So if I, for example, add an exclamation mark here, and I save this, and I then compile this again with tscapp.ts, and you go back to the browser, you see the latest output immediately because it automatically reloaded. And that simply saves us the extra work of reloading manually. Now, important about this npm start process, definitely keep it running as long as you are working on your project, as long as you are writing code which you want to see execute in the browser. Once you're done, you can always quit this process with Ctrl+C, but once you do so, your project is no longer getting served under localhost 3000. So keep it up and running as long as you are writing code and making changes. With that, I'll change it back, but this is totally up to you. And this is the project setup I will use throughout this course. You also find it attached, of course, in the finished form. Just one important note, if you download the attached starting project, or any other course snapshot, any other code snapshot you find anywhere in the course, then you will get a download that does not include this node modules folder. This is a huge folder which in the end stores all third-party packages and their dependencies. And since it is so huge, I typically delete it because you can easily recreate it by running npm install. So if you download one of my attachments, navigate into the extracted folder, and in that folder run npm install. And this will install all dependencies and recreate this node modules folder. And once you did this, you can run npm start or do whatever you want to do in this project. And with that, we got this project setup we'll use throughout the course. Now let's not waste any more time and let's just get started.